Welcome to our Turning Point series. Okay, today we are very honored to have Taylor's University with us today to talk about architecture and quantity surveying. So today, this session is actually brought to you by Study Hub Student Advisory and also JS Study Solutions. So, okay, dear student, you can let me know whether are you from UEC or SPM. You can type in the chat box so I can know like majority of you guys is from the UEC or SPM. Thank you for the response. Okay, so I see here mostly is SPM graduates, right? So okay, first of all, today we have our Doctor, Associate Professor Dr. Ng Fong Peng. Okay, she is head of school. She's from the School of Architecture, Building and Design from the Faculty of Innovation and Technology. Okay, but before I pass the floor to her, I would like to introduce a little bit about our company, Study Hub Student Advisory, and also JS Study Solutions. Okay, so actually, who are we? We are actually a student education consultant. Okay, we used to give student consultation and also help students with their university and college application, helping students in their accommodation arrangement, visa and travel arrangement for those who wants to study abroad. Okay, and also we advise students on the institution scholarship and also assist the student to apply for scholarship. Other than that, we are offering free career consultation. We have our psychometric test. If students, you don't know what you want to do, we actually have the test to lead you to clearer directions. Okay. And we have course counseling and also search. And we used to organize school visits, talks, and also school events. Okay. So we have 7 offices across Malaysia. So we have our Klang office. We have office in Jenjarum, Mentakap. We have 2 offices in Sabah, which is in Sandakan and KK. And also we have 2 offices in Seremban and Seremban too. So dear student, if you are from this area, you can always come to us. Okay, you can make appointment with us to walk into our office. Okay. So without further ado, I will pass the session to Dr. Ng.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Veronica Ng, and it is a pleasure to be here today to share with you possible career choice and how we position ourselves at the School of Architecture, Building and Design in relation to the 2 career choice of particularly architect and quantity surveyor today. So first and foremost, let me share my slides. And I would like to share with everyone that you may actually ask questions at the end of the session. And I would also segment this presentation into 3 parts. The first part is a little bit about the profession, which is very much of the future. Yeah. The second part is very much about the programs that we have and the experiences that you will have with us. And the third part are testimony of students as well as some of the student work. Yeah. So for the third part particularly, if you would like me to go into more details or you would like to see specific things related to that, feel free to just let me know in the chat box and we can customize what you want to see because most of the things that I have today are available online. Yeah, so I will get started. So I have titled this session to be I Want to Be. And I think some of you are post high school or maybe in your final year of high school, and this question tends to pop up. And for myself, I have been asking myself this question a zillion times when I was sitting at the seat that you are at right now. So first, let me introduce myself. As I've mentioned, my name is Veronica Ng, and I'm an architect by training. And if you look at the list of words to the right of my screen, I'm an architect by training. I'm a teacher. I teach architecture in the School of Architecture, Building and Design. I conduct research. I'm a writer, so I write books. You can see some of the books on the screen. And I also write for magazines. So I go around and review buildings and put them in a magazine. I also design curriculum. So my role in the school previously was designing the curriculums for architecture particularly. And I also train my colleagues in many different elements I audit. And I am an administrator, I mean, I'm the head of school. The reason why I would like to share this is I would like you to know that your choice of job is more than the job itself. For example, I signed up to be an architect. I studied architecture, but I end up doing things beyond that of an architect. So I would like to first steer your thoughts to a job bigger than the label that it carries. Yeah, so what I'll be sharing with you, I hope you will reflect on that and to think about how you want to position yourself and what or who you want to be. So I always start my talks with this slide, and I want you to know yourself better. Some of you in this room today will jump and say, oh, I am the left brain because I like science, I like math, I am so logical, I'm so analytical, I'm so practical, I don't like surprises, I'm so clear of what I want. If you are one of what I have just described, you are highly classified as a left brain. And to my right, you will see the colorful, random, diverse brain of what we call the right brain. And you are a right brain if you are creative, you are always free-spirited, you are passionate, you just like to do certain things and you do it really actively. You are very sensual, you take cues of what's happening around you. You also feels a lot and quite emotional sometimes. And if you are that sort of person, you are highly a right brain student. And of course, we have the midbrain, and that is where the left and right brain converge. For me, I reflected and I think I am at the midbrain. So take a pause and think of which side of the brain are you, left or right? And that will relate to the two career choice that I will be presenting to you, which is the quantity surveyor or the architect. I will first start with the architect. This image here shows an architect called Le Corbusier. He's very, very famous, and no one student or architect who studies architecture not know him. Of course, he doesn't know us, but we know him. And look at his style. He wears a bow tie, a black rimmed glasses, and look at what is around him. You'll see a lot of drawings, models, and he is the limelight. So architects are usually persons who like to be in the limelight. They like to create a change and they like to make obvious change that is recognized by others. And this may sometimes be very loud, like an iconic building like KLCC, or sometimes they could be very sensitive type of buildings, like maybe a community center for certain marginal groups. So the range of the character of an architect is very, very diverse. So to my left, I would like you to look at the image. There's no face, right? And that illustrates to you that quantity surveyor is not a job at the foreground, at the front. It is a job at the background to make sure that the quantities associated with buildings, particularly cost and time, are managed. And that is the key role of the quantity surveyor. And usually quantity surveyors do not want to be famous, but architects, majority of them want to be acknowledged to a certain extent. And that brings me to what you will do if you're an architect or a quantity surveyor. For a quantity surveyor, you are basically the accountant of a building. If I said accountant, you all know what accountants will do. They have credit, debit, they calculate, and they manage the costs. Similarly, quantity surveyors do that, but they don't only have to calculate the costs, they have to take the measurements from drawings. That's why you see a lot of drawings, and quantity surveyors will need to know how to read drawings because they are going to extract the quantities from this drawing and then turn them into cost or money so that they can calculate the cost for the building. So that is what a quantity surveyor largely do. Whereas the architect is really different. Look at the image that define what an architect do. Architect design spaces. Architect put floor, wall, roof, openings, and more importantly, they design for the people who use it. And they also oversee the construction of the building. So in a nutshell, this is the dominant characteristics of the job scope of an architect and a quantity surveyor. How long does it take? This is often one of the key questions that we get. The bad news is architecture takes a long time. And on the other hand, quantity surveying takes slightly shorter, but both of them are professional programs. What do we mean by that? So let me first start with the quantity surveyor that you will see as an SR here. So if you are a full-fledged professional quantity surveyor, you will have an SR in your prefix, just like the doctors, right? You go to the clinic, you say, "Hi, Dr. Tay, how are you?" So people will address you as, "Hi, Surveyor Tay, how are you?" So how do you reach that? So if you are at SPM level, you have completed it, what you do is you will have to join a foundation, A levels, matriculation, diploma, or STPM program to enter into a 3.5 years degree in quantity surveying. And if you complete and you graduate, you then register with Board of Quantity Surveyors Malaysia, or in short, BQSM. And then you keep a record of what you do in your work, and you make sure you have 2 years of work experience. Then you can sit for an exam, which is here what we call the assessment of professional competence. If you pass it, you will be a registered quantity surveyor. So that is the journey between now to being a registered quantity surveyor. On the other hand, if you want to be known as Architect Tay, how are you? The journey is similar except for the duration. It is slightly longer. So you still go through your foundation or A levels, any pre-U programs, and you enter into your architecture degree, what we call part 1. And this is 3 years. And if you want to continue to study in Malaysia, you will have to do 6 months practical training. Then only you can get into your part 2, which is 2 years. So for architecture, if you don't study 5 years, 3 plus 2, you cannot continue the architecture journey. Yeah. So you should target to study 3 plus 2. And of course, following that, the process is quite similar to the quantity surveyor, where you will need at least 2 years experience keeping your log book or a record of what you do at work, and then apply to sit for the assessment. And if you pass, you will be called an AR, or in short, architect. So this is the journey of both being a registered QS and a registered surveyor. So how much do you earn? To my left is the QS and to my right is the architecture. Yeah. So here, based on the salaries distribution report for 2021, you can see that roughly when it starts off, a quantity surveyor can earn about 2,700 right through to 6,190. And this is talking about the masses. They are not those who are running their own firm. So if you run a QS consultancy firm, once you are a registered surveyor, you are not in this group because you are not an employee, you are an employer. And there you can, I mean, it's limitless how much you can earn. To my right is for the architects. This is assuming that you already have finished your 3+2. Yeah. So because the length is slightly longer, so when you finish your master's, and roughly you will get like 5,000, and then it escalates. And similarly, these are just for employees, right? For employer, again, your revenue could be limitless. So why does architecture students prefer to continue with the master's? First of all, if you want to be a registered architect, you have to take the master's, okay? And also it's because research have shown that master's graduate in average earn 93% more than someone with just a bachelor's degree. Yeah, so you would want to be able to perform better, to be higher in your job rankings, and hence to earn more. So I can share with you a little bit if you're interested later. If you do not want to continue with the master's, what could you do? Yeah, there's still a lot of possibilities. So I have shared with you so far what a quantity surveyor and what an architect does in very brief package. Now I will share with you, if you want to enroll into this sort of programs, and I will use our university programs as an example because that's what I know. And in the Taylor's University, the school that we are named is called the School of Architecture, Building and Design. So you will see I used a lot of short form like SABD in my slides. It signifies our school, and amongst our students and our team, we always address our school as SABD. So what do we do? What do we aim for? For students who enter into our school, we aim that they develop to be well-rounded graduates who will be creative and innovative. And there are also persons who are able to move between the local, which means the Malaysian context, the regional, which means the Asian context, and the global, meaning the international context. And we also envision that when you enter our program, we are enabling you to cultivate a heightened sensibility and to enable you to have many different to become many different diverse individuals. So we don't aim to create cookie cutter graduates. We aim to create very, very diverse graduates. And how do we do that? We do that by creating or curating an experience for you that is beyond your academic learning. Okay? And we curated an experience which is transformative, meaning when you enter, maybe you are A, when you exit, you will be B, C, D, E, F, or G. We also curated dynamic, meaning it's not just about studies, it's about many different things that comes along your way as a student. And of course, thirdly, relevant, meaning now it's Industrial Revolution 4.0. Things are rapidly changing and accelerated by the pandemic. So how are we addressing that, and how are we innovating what we deliver to you in your learning experience because of that? And we do that by making sure that our curriculum is based on real world, multidisciplinary, and technologically driven, so that these three things have a lifelong impact on you. We no longer talk about giving you knowledge because that is expected and that is basic. And knowledge can be gained on your own because we are going to teach you skills of how to gain that knowledge rather than giving you the knowledge. Why? Knowledge expires, right? So we are not aiming to teach you knowledge, but we are going to teach you skills to continuously learn. So you will join us on a learning experience that's very vibrant. I'm not going to explain part by part this slide, but I'm going to use the subsequent slides to narrate to you what we have in SABD. So let me start with the programs and the curriculum. So when you enter into the program, your expectation is, okay, I go into a degree program and I take some modules, I pass, and I graduate. But what I would like to share with you is to ask you to take a pause. Think about more than that. So any good programs need to be accredited. And in our school, our architecture programs are accredited by LAM, and our QS programs are accredited by BQSM, RICS, and PAQS. So it covers different regions. And what does that mean? Meaning that our program is recognized in those countries that this accreditation body covers. And of course, in our program, we make it real world, multidisciplinary, and technology driven. You are interested to know what you will be studying in these two disciplines. So in QS, you will be studying majority measurement studies. Why? As I've mentioned, you need to learn to read drawings, take the measurements from the drawing, translate it into prices or cost. Yeah. And of course, you not only do that, you also need to learn how to manage a project. What is construction management like? Financial studies, technical studies, because you need to understand construction in order to be able to understand how building works. And you also need to apply different things into your course. And lastly, in QS, there is a 6 months internship. Okay, so that briefly describe what you will study. For architecture, the core is design studies. So you will be designing, and you will see that through the portfolio that I will show you later. And together with that, you also need to learn about the environment and the technology in the built environment. Because why? You need to prevent water or rain from getting into your building. You need to prevent too much heat, so that's environment. And technology, you need to make sure the building don't collapse. And you need to also make sure what is out there that is new so that you can incorporate it to make a much more efficient building. You also need to learn how to communicate. You need to learn how to sell ideas, how to talk, because why? You will be selling ideas to your client. You also need to learn how to draw, and you also need to learn how to write. Yeah. And you also have to take cultural studies, where you will learn some sort of history of architecture and theory of architecture, because you need to know how architecture come about and why certain works are the way they are. And fourthly, you will also need to learn professional studies. You need to know law, contracts, how to run an architecture practice, and so on. So this is in a snapshot what you will learn. And for us in SABD, what are our strengths? Of course, we simulate real world issues. We focus on multidisciplinary studies. We have a lot of active practitioners means registered architects and QS. Industry linkage, we are technology infused and we are research informed. So for architecture, we are very much positioned into sustainable tropical architecture in Asian urban heritage. So we are, or our school is about that. While for QS disciplines, our school is very much about measurement, collaborative studio, and technology application. So we would like to share with you that these are our strengths. So moving forward, what we are going to do because of the IR 4.0 is we are strengthening our students' capabilities to have technological infused modules which lend towards building information modeling, as what you see on the screen here, as well as something to do with AR and VR. And that currently have slowly impacting on the built environment in Asia and in Malaysia. So moving forward, what about the learning environment? I will just show you one of our unique facility. Of course, we have the other facilities. We have this unique facility called the Next Gen Architecture Studio. It's for the architecture students. And this is for final year students. We have made it like a real office space because we want to simulate that office environment for your final semester. And for this space, we actually are awarded the RECA International Design Award for institution category. What about the people? I mentioned just now, we have active practitioners and critical researchers. So this is just a list of people. You wouldn't make sense of the names right now, but I would just like to bring your attention to the numbers. So in our school, total, we have 67 academic team. And if you look at the four numbers at the bottom, amongst us, 24 are registered architect, 8 are registered surveyor, 3 are registered technologists, and 10 are doctorates. Yeah, so this encompasses who we are. And of course, like what I said, we are bringing you a dynamic experience and you are not just coming to take some modules and leave as a graduate. We have made sure that we embed 4 things into the program to deliver you a dynamic experience. So the first one is about your peer learning and your social groups in the school. So we do a lot of things. I just highlighted with a few images. This is more for architecture. So these are the one-to-one build that our students do in a festival. Of course, it's not every year it's happening. Last year, it didn't happen because of the pandemic. And also a lot of exhibitions. These are QS, so there is a QS week, still a lot of collaborative activities, a lot of field work as a group. And we also go for our annual activity week to abroad, but last year it didn't happen. And also our students, we go with them to conferences for the student experience, and some of them do win awards in these conferences. And of course, we also have a strong student society, and they support the student experience by having platforms that share students' work, like what you see here. And also they announce announcements to all the students. So we have a strong student spirit in the school. Besides that, we also collaborate with the industry. So for example, these images here, they are logos of people whom we have formal collaborations with. What the first is Veritas Design Group. It's a large architecture firm in Malaysia that have global offices. We also have a collaboration with Royal Institution of Surveyors Malaysia, and we actively participate in events by Malaysian Institute of Architects, known as PAM, and also an architecture foundation known as DOMA initiatives. And besides that, to make the program relevant and also dynamic, some of our coursework includes the community. So for example, some of the projects that students do as their module are real projects, meaning things that real people or real stakeholders are interested in. For example, we have flagship projects in Klang and Kampong Baru, as well as this is one of the community service projects that our students do to help the B40 community to change or to improve their study space. And of course, fourthly, international. Currently, we have student exchange for our Masters of Architecture program. This is a formal student exchange, and every year we have students going there, but except for last year, of course. And we also have collaborations with all these places that you see here. Of course, for different universities, the collaborations are different. Yeah, so we have a collaboration with a lot of universities in the UK, one in Italy, Università di Venezia, and also currently we are finalizing our collaboration with Shanghai Urban Construction Vocational College. We have a collaboration in India and also the Aga Khan Trust for Culture, and also in Germany, the Anhalt University of Applied Science. Okay. And lastly, the learning experience is not complete without research. So our school is also begin to be active in research, and we looked at these three areas. And this is what we will share with you in terms of the learner experience that we have curated for both the architecture and the QS student. And what do we envision to get out of it? And now I will tie you back to where I started, where I said our school is interested to create graduates who are diverse. Yeah, we do not want you to be the same. We want you to be diverse in your own ways. And as you become alumni, you contribute back to the program. We are running an alumni series now, and so far we have all these alumni coming to share with us their alumni stories. So if you join us, you could possibly be one of them. And in terms of competitions, awards, and recognitions, our students do win a number of awards, both quantity surveying and QS students. And I would like to take this opportunity to share with you some of the testimony of some of these students that I have highlighted here. And as I go along, I will switch pages to some portfolio of student work so that you can roughly have an idea of what do they actually do in their studies. Okay, so the first student here is the most recent Part 1 graduate. So when I said Part 1 means they do our degree, they did not do our master's yet. So these students can choose to do it overseas or they can choose to do it with us. So let me share with you the portfolio of this most recent graduate. I am assuming now you can actually see my screen, which is the ISU page. If you can't see it, please alert me. And I'm now flipping the pages of the portfolio of Chai Paul E. And as I scroll along, you will see that this is actually an architecture student. You will see the works. These are all works that the student do for design across the 3 years. And as you go across the 3 years, you have to document your work in this form. So by the end of your 3rd year, completing the degree in architecture, you will actually have this thing which we call portfolio. Yeah, and that will enable you to move on to your master's program or to use it for job applications if you do not want to continue with your master's. Okay, so there are a lot of images here. I'm not going to explain about it, Later, if you want the links for this, I can pass it to Serena's team and they can pass it to you. All right, so it's pretty impressive, and you can see there's a lot of right brain characteristics here because in design, you really need creativity. Okay, so that's one example. And now let me bring you to the next example. This is Mr. Jethro Tan. He is also our recent graduate of 2019. And this student, he's very unique because he have won two awards, two national awards. One is the Penn Bronze Medal for the winner. Bronze medal simply means part one. Yeah, and you can see his testimony on his right here. And it says that the university actually provides an intellectually challenging environment, training him to be independent and exceed beyond his boundaries. And this is what we mean by teaching you the skills to learn and not telling you the knowledge. Yeah. And he also continue on. I won't read it. I think you can just read through the testimony where it says that he actually have looked at different perspective, open up to, you know, a lot of different things that he have not thought of to start with. I will not flip this portfolio because I've got a few more that I would like to share. This is another graduate, Calvin Bong, and his testimony was, it intrigued me that his testimony was like that. He used the word transformational experience for me. He didn't know that in the school we use the word transformation as well. But his testimony further reinforces the vision of our school. So I would like to show you this portfolio, which is slightly different. It's on a Wix side. So I hope you can see the Wix screen now. Let me know if you are not able to. So all our students will document their work, and you can see it just keeps scrolling through to different projects that the student have completed during his 3 years with us in the architecture degree. Now let me bring you back to the slides. Okay, now we go to the fourth student. I would just like to share with you some of the master's student because perhaps you may also want to know how the masters look like, and it looked like that. Yeah, I will bring you to this student's portfolio. This student is a student that is now working in Woha, Singapore, and Woha, Singapore is an award-winning architecture firm in Singapore doing a lot of sustainable and environmental friendly projects. So I'm now scrolling the portfolio of the student called Heffrens. So in the master's, students take their portfolio slightly different. They have a lot of theory, they have a lot of words, because the difference between a master's graduate is they are actually able to sell themselves better, and they also want to sell their thinking, not only their drawings. Yeah, so you will see that the style of the Masters of Architecture work is slightly different, and the projects are getting bigger and bigger. So as you go through the 5 years of architecture education, you will notice that you do almost the same things, but you build up your skills in terms of complexity and maturity. Okay, so I won't go on with that in lieu of time. I will just get back to my slides and I'll continue to the next student. This is, I think, maybe second last student, Caleb Ong. Caleb loves to draw. You can see in his YouTube here, he actually give a lot of talks nowadays on drawing and his experience. So I just want to show this to those of you who would like to draw. And if you are interested, I can also give you the link to Caleb's portfolio. And this particular work actually won one of the mention in a drawing competition globally. Yeah, I think 2 of our students won that. I won't go through the last one in lieu of time. And I would just like to end with 5 skills that is important that we train you in our school through these 2 programs. First skill is creativity and innovation. The second skill is multidisciplinary collaboration. The third skill is digital transformation through technology. The fourth skill is emotional intelligence. And the fifth skill and more important skill, which I have reiterated since the beginning, lifelong learning. So with that, I would like to end my presentation, and feel free to pop questions either by unmuting yourself and say your question, or you can type it in the chat box.
Thank you, Dr. Veronica. So right now we will open up the session for Q&A. So student, if you have any question, please feel free to unmute yourself, or if you are too shy, please type in your questions, then we will address your question one by one. Yep. Do you have any do you have any questions?
If you have no questions, I have questions for you. I'll do a test.
You have tests, Dr. Veronica?
No, not really.
Maybe they are still thinking what to ask, because I think it covers quite a lot of things.
Yes, I try to make it as comprehensive as possible. If you have no questions, student, I will be asking questions. I'm serious.
Yes, can also.
Okay, my first question. Wait, let me just stop share so the screen is slightly friendlier. All right, my first question is, for this question to answer, you have to use the reaction box, yeah, at the bottom right of the screen. Okay, my first question is, how many of you here think that you are a left brainer? Okay, if you are, just put a thumbs up in your reaction emoji. Nobody is putting.
Maybe they are still like considering, like thinking whether are they a left brainer or not. Yeah, no response.
No response.
Yeah, I have
Okay,
one.
there is a, okay.
Yep.
Yep, I can see the question. Okay, the question is, if I study in Malaysia, can I work outside Malaysia? Will I be recognized? Okay, so first of all, maybe let me share with you. If you study in Malaysia and the program is recognized by our Board of Architects, it will be recognized only in Malaysia. Okay, what does that mean? Meaning that if you want to end at the end of the day, run your own architecture practice in Malaysia, be a registered architect in Malaysia, you need to be accredited by our Malaysian Board of Architects. Okay, so that's number one, not directly related to your question. The second layer to your question is, can you work outside of Malaysia? You can work anywhere. Maybe let me share with you what our alumni are doing and where are they. I do not have statistics, but I have examples because personally myself, I do have very close contact with our alumni. For example, you may take path number one, and path number one is you do your degree at Taylor's. You are a graduate for part one, all right? And you decided to do your degree in UK, for example, right? And you go to UK, you do your 2 years part two degree. Okay. Can you work in UK? We have a lot of students that work in UK, and I have also students who are now registered architects in UK. So what does that mean? They will have to go and register themselves with the Board of Architects in UK and do the same thing as they do in Malaysia. I think one point is every country is governed by their own Board of Architects, and it's not transferable. Yeah, so you have to start the process for every country. And in Australia, it's different state, not the country. Yeah, so for example, if you intend to go to Australia and let's say you study your part one at Taylor's and you go to Melbourne to study your part two, and you want to work there and you want to be a registered architect there. So you have to do the same process, but with the Victoria State Board of Architects. Okay, that's because in Australia, that country, the governance for architecture is by state. Yeah, I am not familiar with other countries like Egypt, Africa. I have no idea. It's not common to us, but every country have their own governance. So you need to check. So your short answer is yes, you can work overseas, but if you intend to be a registered architect in those countries, you have to follow the same procedure as what you will do in Malaysia. You have to repeat it again. So you have to apply and get yourself recognized. So I hope I have answered the question.
Yep. Thank you, Dr. Veronica. So, yeah, another one. If I did part one in Malaysia, if I were to go to US, I'll have to do part one there again or continue part two?
My short answer to you is you continue part two. What you have to do is you have to take your part one, your portfolio, and you apply to a US university. Why I say that? Because I have got one graduate. I may have more, but I only know that one girl. She left after part one with us. She went to US. She did 2 years for part two, and that's the end of her architecture journey. So it's the same, just 3 plus 2. But if your question is the degree in US recognized in Malaysia? If you want to come back, you want to be a registered architect, it's not. So you have to go to the Board of Architects, apply to have an interview or what they call exam. They will evaluate your work and your portfolio. If they see your work is equivalent to the Malaysian part two, they will grant you and then you can continue from there. I think you asked a very important question because this is often questions that students and parents would like to know, and it's a very complicated question. But all I can say is, in short, every country have its own governance. Yeah. Any more questions?
Yeah, another one. I would like to ask, will we learn about most variation of buildings only, or we will even learn other types of construction such as bridges, factories, or even tourism locations, for example, sunbay lagoons?
Okay, in the architecture program, you will only learn about buildings and the urban environment, means cities and buildings in the cities. Okay, so it typically starts from there. It will not cover bridges, factories, or theme parks, like what you say, Sunway Lagoon, they are theme park. If you are asking this for quantity surveying, the answer is slightly different. For quantity surveying, you will learn measurement for engineering as well, okay, which includes bridges. Factories are buildings, but we don't teach students how to design factories because you don't really need design skills for factory. You can apply the skills. So in a nutshell, you learn the skills. You can actually apply the skills to different types of buildings because there's a gazillion types of buildings, yeah? But architecture won't touch on bridges. QS will touch on engineering infrastructure in terms of measuring and quantifying the cost. But we won't touch on theme parks, not that I know of, and not that I've seen anywhere else. It doesn't touch on theme park. But doesn't mean they are not architecture, they are, but we just don't concentrate on them.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Veronica. So, yep, please type in more questions if you have any. Yeah, so far I didn't see any more questions from students. So, yep. Thank you so much, Dr. Veronica. So, dear students, if you have any more further questions that you want to know about the university or even the program itself, in this room we have Jeannie and myself, Serena. Jeannie is from JS Study Solutions and I'm from Study Hub Student Advisory. So you can always contact us. My colleague have actually typed our Facebook information, our contact information in the chat box. So you can always come to us for any more questions. Yep. So for now, I would like to thank Dr. Veronica for presenting us such an informative session. And also, I will present you a video from Taylor's.
Welcome to Taylor's University.
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 Today, we're going to get hands-on with these racing cars. Today, we're live streaming with a chef from France. Today, you'll judge what happens next. Today's about collaborative brainstorming. Today, we take on research that changes lives. Today was a success.
At Taylor's, we strive to provide more than just an education. We equip our students with the skills and attitudes to become successful entrepreneurs and leaders. The value of our degrees is also enhanced by our high-impact, internationally recognized research. Our growing reputation for both teaching and research is placing Taylor's on course to become one of Asia's elite universities.